What is up, everyone? This is Rob the Vapor here, and if you're watching this video, you're probably here because you want a tutorial or a starting guide on how to get into rebuildable atomizers and how to get into rebuilding and all that good stuff. So you don't need to necessarily jump straight into rebuilding. If you're watching this video, you're probably coming from maybe an Ego and a CE4, or maybe you're coming from something like a Nautilus or a Kangaroo Aero tank and you want something different, or maybe you're even coming from a sub tank or an Atlantis and you want a sort of tutorial into the basics of rebuilding. I want to show you guys how easy it is, because I know how intimidating it can be when you're dealing with like different resistance wires. You're dealing with ohms, you're dealing with all this stuff, mech mods, regulated mods, and you're really wondering about how to do it, and it's all sort of confusing. And I just want to show you guys that it's a lot more simple than what it might seem like at face value. So yeah, let's get into it. I'm using a guide here from wikivapia.org, which is basically a vaping wiki. It has everything that you need and it covers all bases. And this particular guide was written by KM Shadows. He's a user over on ECR EU and ECR, I presume. And that's Reddit, by the way. So he did a great guide, and I've been wanting to make a video like this for a long time, so I thought that this would be a pretty good way to have it all written down and formal. There's also a lot of things that I want to add from this guide, so I can show you guys in person how to do these things, etc., etc. Okay, so the first thing that you need when you get into rebuilding is a drill bit or a screwdriver or anything like that to wrap your coils on, okay? So you need something to wrap your coils on. Personally, I think the best unit that you can use or get if you're starting off and you're a new vapor and you want to build coils easily, I recommend a Coil Master or a Kuro coil or anything like that. These guys right here. They're quite simple little units. They have your bit to turn your coils and then the head to just twist the console, and I'll show you guys how to do that in the second part of this video. Right now I'm just going to go through all the parts. But yeah, one of these, you can get them on Fast Tech. It's a universal, or you can get the Coil Master or the Kuro coil clone. They're all the same thing. They all do pretty much the identical thing, but I like this one because you can put in different diameter heads and then wrap different diameter coils. And to talk a little bit about that, yeah, you can have a screwdriver. You don't need one of these. You can use a screwdriver or a drill bit or whatever, and basically anything that you can wrap around that's, you know, pretty thin. But one of these is handiest because it's like the beginning. You know, it just tells you everything you need. It tells you the millimeter. Very easy to use. Very easy to get into. So I recommend a Kuro coil or a Coil Master or Universal Tools, as Fast Tech calls it. Okay, so let's take a vape and then we'll go on to the next part. And the next thing that you guys will need is Kanthal or a wire, but most commonly used is Kanthal, so I recommend Kanthal. Now we'll talk a little bit about the different gauges and stuff like that in a second, but Kanthal is the wire that you use to make your coils, and it comes in a spool, something like that, and you just cut it and wrap it. So Kanthal is most commonly used. The diameter of these wires affects important factors such as the total resistance or heat flux. It is oftentimes measured in AWG, which is your American wire gauge. As a rule of thumb, thicker wire leads means less resistance. If you're just starting out, you want to go with a thicker wire, and I was wanting to talk a little bit about this. The first spool of Kanthal that I actually got was quite thin, and I found it quite finicky, messy. I couldn't really get the right coils I wanted with it as a beginner, and I found like it was just crap, and it almost actually turned me off rebuilding, to be honest with you, entirely. So I got some thicker stuff. This is in particular pretty thick. This is like, yeah, this is 26 gauge. So this is pretty thick. But it's good, because the thicker it is, the more you can manipulate it, and that's important, and the more robust and resilient it is, because you'll run into it yourself using thinner wire. It can snap on the leads, can snap when you're tightening down your RDA. So, you know, the thicker the better when you're starting, and then of course, you know, you can move on to thinner stuff. I hope that didn't mess up everything, guys, I'm sorry. And you move on to thinner stuff, and then, you know, you can do what you like. Walk before you can run. That's the most important message of this video, because it's not intimidating, it's quite easy to do. So yeah, just walk before you can run. Okay, so next up then, let's see if we, actually no, before that, hold up. With cancel, you want to wash it or wipe it, and KM Shadows actually explains this pretty well, because some of it will have like a manufacturing grease on it or something, so you're going to want to either wipe it with some tissue or toilet roll, whatever you call it, or heat it. Heat it is probably better. You can heat it when you're testing your coil out. We'll talk about that later, so don't worry about that too much right now. That's just something that will have to happen at some point. So next up, you want the tweezers. My fancy leopard print tweezers. Tweezers come in two forms for this type of stuff: ceramic, and then you've got your regular metal tweezers. Ceramic has some advantages. Ceramic, you can actually manipulate the coil while heating it to tighten it up. So you don't have to worry about shorts or anything like that. You don't want to do that with one of these boys. The metal ones you will heat first, and then, you know, once you're done heating, you'll tweeze it and repeat the process. Again, we'll talk about that in part 2. But with ceramic, you can just go in, heat at the same time, and tighten those coils together, right? So next up then, you're going to want some wire cutters. Wire cutters, you can use in nail clippers, like this guy. But the problem with nail clippers is they will actually degrade over time, because, you know, metal on metal, they start to get kind of chewed up a little bit. Mine is kind of like that now. So I would recommend getting some wire cutters. I need to really get some myself too. So yeah, do try and invest in a good set of wire cutters, because, you know, you will be building a lot of coils. It's worth it to put in the initial investment, because you're going to be using this for potentially a long time, do you know what I mean? So go with it. Let's have a vape, and then we're on to cotton. Okay, so cotton. Be sure to get organic, right? Cotton, the best thing about it is that you can get it anywhere. So you can, and it comes in a lot of different varieties. We'll talk about all the wicking materials. So you've got cotton, you've got rayon, you've got mesh. There's a few different things that you can use. We won't really talk about mesh yet, because that's sort of advanced, I would say. But you can get either rayon, organic cotton, which is the regular cotton balls, but they have to be organic, make sure about that. Or you can get, which I use, and I recommend 100%, I really love it, is Japanese cotton, Muji, Japanese organic cotton. And you might see that be referred to as Kogendo or Kogendo on websites. That's what you want, that's the stuff that you want. It comes in little flat pads. So rayon has some advantages as well, but I like Japanese cotton, so that's what I'll be talking about in this video, and that's what I'll be using. And then of course you can get regular cotton, the stuff that comes in cotton balls. You just want to make sure that it's unbleached and organic, preferably. So you're going to want that stuff, because you don't want to be vaping bleach, right? No one wants to be vaping bleach. So yeah. But you can boil your cotton. There's different methods. I know Rip Trippers boils his cotton, or at least he used to. I don't know what he does now. And then we're on to the most important, critical, crucial part of the video, and I agree with KM Shadows 100% on this, is your ohm reader. So your ohm reader will measure your resistance of your coils, blah 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 blah. It'll also check out how, or if you have a loose lead or something like that, it will tell you. You'll notice by the numbers fluctuating. And in the next part of this video, when we get to the building part, I will explain to you guys what to look out for if you have a dodgy lead or whatever, you know what I mean? So this is a ohm reader, and this is a sort of basic small little unit. This is a smoke. It also works as a basic sort of voltmeter or whatever they're called. So this one's fine. You can get it for cheap. It'll do the job. You know, it's not terrible. So we'll just screw on. I've got my K14 here. So we'll just screw on the K14, and I'll tell you guys the resistance and show you just how it works. It's quite simple. Again, it's not rocket science, guys. So I like to build all my things on this and just have it off and just build on it, and then use it to check the resistance and stuff like that. So this is shown up as 0.8 ohms on the smoke, and that's what you want, guys. You want a solid continuous number that doesn't fluctuate, because if it fluctuates, it means that you probably have a loose connection on your RDA. It means one of the screws are loose or something like that, the lead is snapped, something dodgy is going on. So you want a solid continuous number the whole time. That's what you want. Happy days, right? Once you get that solid continuous number, chances are you're pretty golden, and that's sort of what you want. These things I've noticed, in particular with the smoke, I don't know about the rest of them, but I've noticed that this can actually get inaccurate if it's not charged right. So keep that in mind, because you know, keep it charged and always double check. But always double check. If you adjust your coil, double check. If you do anything, check again. Just every time, man. If you're tightening it with your tweezers, even take it off, check it again. I know it's a pain in the ass, but it's worth checking to make sure that you don't mess up anything while you're doing it. And then the most important part, and what you need, is an RBA. So you're going to need either an RTA or an RDA. So an RTA is a rebuildable tank atomizer, so something like this. The advantages of these are you don't have to constantly drip. It's more similar to the things like the Nautilus, the sub-tanks, the Atlantises that most guys come from. Well, all guys come from. It's a lot more similar to that kind of thing. Has known for having more of a restricted airflow than a typical RDA. So, you know, that's up to you. And then the RDAs, you get something like this. This is a Tobe 2.5. I have it sitting on my Tesla Invader 2. And I love this as well. I like both, but I prefer RTAs personally myself. I like taking my stuff out, and I don't like dripping when I'm out and stuff like that, you know. So I prefer an RTA, but that's just me. The beauty of vaping is that there is so many ways to be individual, express yourself, you know, do it whatever way you like, have it your way. I don't know whose slogan that is, but you can have it your way with vaping. It's a very unique thing that you can, you know, express yourself through whatever way you want to do it. Oh yeah, and I forgot to say, get a scissors for things like the cotton. You don't really want to be ripping it with your hands, because, you know, you want a nice straight line. But that's it, guys. That's the tools that you need. And this is part 1 of the video. Part 2 will be up later in the week. So these are the tools that you need to get started. And I just wanted to stress how easy it is to rebuild. It is intimidating. I felt intimidated when I got into it. And, you know, I was around people, talking to people who rebuild often, and I was still intimidated by it. Do you know what I mean? I still felt that, oh, this is going to be so tough, but it's really, really not. As long as you have the safety basics covered, then you're golden. As long as you have your ohm reader in particular, you're golden, because that will tell you if you're messing up, right? And if you have a good regulated mod, say something like an iStick, something like that, most people will have an iStick at this point, or if you're using an IPV or anything, a Segale, those will have auto short circuit protection. But again, you don't want to rely on that. I would trust an ohm reader first, and then move the unit onto a regulated mod. Happy days. So that's what you need to get started, guys. And if you have all that stuff, then go on to part 2, right? So yeah, let's have a little vape and celebrate that we've got everything we need. I've been Rob the Vapor. Hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Please leave a like and comment, subscribe, etc. I've been Rob the Vapor. Haters catch the vapors. I'll see y'all later. Cheers for watching, guys. Peace.